This is a secure Cyber Connect podcast with Jay Adamson and Warren Atkinson, where we're joined by information, cybersecurity, technology, and talent acquisition professionals who share their journeys, unique perspectives, and offer advice and guidance. Our topics on this episode will be navigating immigration, talent development, and the practical experience for enhanced productivity. Today, we're delighted to be joined by Victor Sonde. Currently, Victor is at the helm of Join Momentum, a mission-driven initiative dedicated to accelerating digital talent and boosting business productivity by providing practical work experiences, training internships, and talent placements. He's committed to delivering innovative products and solutions that create real value for candidates, clients, and stakeholders alike. And with a key focus on bridging the gap between business objectives, consumer behavior, and technology, Victor has consistently driven impactful results throughout his career. With a passion for skills acquisition, entrepreneurship, and growth, he believes wholeheartedly in the transformative power of practical work experience alongside hands-on training, and a commitment and dedication to developing effective solutions not only enhances business productivity, but also nurtures successful collaboration across a high number of delivery teams. As a seasoned product delivery consultant and business analyst, and with over 20 years of expertise in business transformation and change management, Victor's impressive journey has taken him through significant partnerships with renowned organisations across both the public and private sectors, including the BBC, Sky, Accenture, and HMRC. Victor, welcome to the Secure Cyber Connect podcast, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jay. Really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So we always start things off by just asking you to very briefly give us a high-level overview of what we're going to be discussing today.
Well, so today I think we are talking about something quite significant, especially with where we are in the global workforce at the moment. Immigration is a big thing. A lot of people are migrating and moving countries and relocating for different reasons. And I think it's important that organizations begin to think about how to align their processes and the way they think about talent development with this new developments. So today I'm here to talk about that, share my experiences, and also talk about the importance of practical work experience and how the work I'm doing in that space through Join Momentum. So yeah.
And we always kick things off with the same question to all of our guests. Would you be kind enough to share something with us that you're either proud of, excited about, maybe just want to shine a light on that isn't typically on your LinkedIn profile?
Well, yes. What comes to mind that's not currently on my LinkedIn profile is at Join Momentum, like I said, we're doing work to accelerate, talent. And at the moment, we have been able to come up with a potential solution that could help us to scale our impact. And this is what we refer to as simulated practical experiences. And essentially what that is if somebody needs work experience, the chicken and egg problem of I can't give you a job because you don't have relevant expert experience, then you can't get a job. You need a job to get the work experience is always the dilemma, right? So what we are doing is we are creating a solution to bridge that gap, giving people the opportunity to practice what they have learned, practice what they know, and use that social proof as evidence as a way to leverage and bridge that gap and give themselves the best shot in the marketplace. So that's super exciting, and I guess we'll talk more about that later on.
We'll definitely elaborate on that a little bit later on for sure.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to discussing that further later on in the session. Now, Victor, curious to gain your perspective as someone who's head of product innovation. What challenge have you perhaps faced in your career that's significantly influenced your perspective on cybersecurity?
I think for me, the big thing is the ability for people who are aspiring to become experts in this space to acquire the relevant experience and confidence that will demonstrate to employers that they are actually worth a shot. And that kind of connects back to the work that we're doing at Join Momentum. At the moment, I'm currently working on a cybersecurity analyst playbook. And the reason why that becomes important is because there's a lot of scenarios, there's a lot of opportunities that if you go get certifications and go get degrees and all that stuff, they don't get covered. They're not so close to the realities that businesses are facing. So for me, from my experience, I've realized that in order for organizations to have confidence in saying, I want to give you an opportunity that confidence will come from the things that you've done that you are able to do over and over again. And that's nothing to do with your certificate or your degree or even your background. It's about what have you done that you can prove and you've done it. That's a big thing. And for me, that's like an important thing over my career I've seen the last 20 plus years.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So I think we're going to sort of really get into what is undoubtedly a topic that both myself and Warren are extremely passionate about. And I've had to face for many years, which is that there's a high number of misconceptions about sponsorship and visas for HR department within organizations and employers. And these have included only large companies can sponsor skilled workers, which we know is incorrect. Sponsorship or skilled worker visas are only for highly specialized professions, which we know is incorrect. The visa process is complicated and inflexible, we know is incorrect. Sponsoring employers is far too complicated and very expensive, which we know is incorrect. And also misconceptions from a candidate's perspective, which can often include things like finding a job in the UK guarantees someone a skilled worker visa. Again, incorrect. Skilled worker visas are permanent from the beginning of their employment. Can you help unmask some of these myths and more importantly, share some best practices for organizations that are looking to navigate immigration processes effectively in order to attract workers?
Definitely, I can share. I've had some experience in that space, as you can imagine. Being an immigrant myself, is a space where I mentor and I coach a lot of individuals, including organizations within this space. As a matter of fact, yesterday afternoon, I got a call from a business that's operating from central London, saying that we've had a lot of applicants send in for a role in our organization, but they're all seeking organizations that can sponsor them. And we have found people that we like, but we can't. We don't know how to bring them on board because we don't have the ability to sponsor them. And these talents are people that would add value to our business. So I said to the CEO, it's very, very simple and it's not complicated. The myth, number one, of the myth of the fact that only large organizations and large corporations can sponsor talent in the UK is wrong. There is provision legally by the Home Office that allows any organization to sponsor individuals and talents in the UK to work for them, as long as they meet certain criteria. And I think the first thing is for organizations to understand what are those criteria and then apply to get the certificate of sponsorship. When you get the certificate of sponsorship, all you have to do is issue that certificate to the person that you want to hire. And with that certificate, they apply to the Home Office and voila, they become your staff. Now, I say that in a very simplistic way, but organizations need to have the ability to understand what is the process for me to become a sponsor. I think that is the starting point of the journey. For me to become a sponsor, what do I need to do? And one thing I've also noticed in this space, and before I hand that back to you, is the fact that HR departments are not thinking or looking beyond the procedures or the existing corporate structures or hiring talent pipeline they have in place. The talent workforce, the talent pool now is very dynamic. So your HR or your hiring or your talent strategy must be dynamic to adapt to the pool that you have access to. Now, a lot of these people, all they need to know is on the Home Office website, all companies that have certificate of sponsorship are listed publicly. So even when your potential candidates are applying to your organization, they can verify your status on the Home Office website that you have a valid certificate of sponsorship. And when you have a valid certificate of sponsorship, then you have an ability to attract those skilled talent that you would ordinarily be missing out on, who can actually deliver immense value for your business. So I think the starting point, which we need to talk about, is the fact that how do I become a sponsor in the UK? And any company can become a sponsor as long as you can satisfy the requirements of the Home Office, which is straightforward. You have PAYE, UTR reference, you are VAT registered, and then you have the ability to bring talent on. It's quite straightforward and simple.
And would you say that that process is perhaps simplified since the UK left Europe, for instance?
So I think it's one of the part of the ways for the exit strategy for Brexit, isn't it? Because the impact of Brexit was a huge amount of people had to leave the UK. And of course, the UK government had to make provision for other people to be able to access the workforce so that organizations would not suffer. So as a result of that, there are provisions by law, legal, not business. I mean, I think HR department just needs to be more open and aware, maybe some education, I don't know, maybe some awareness campaign or whatnot. But there are procedures and ways to basically become a certified sponsor, and you can have somebody in the department or even make it an outsourced process if you don't have the capacity to handle it. I mean, in my experience, what I've done in the past is to outsource. I've worked with HR where we outsourced the entire sponsorship process to an legal immigration expert who only basically act to help when it comes to hiring talent that requires sponsorship. That way, if it is a case of workload or complexity, they understand the terminologies of immigration, they can support the candidate through the process, and it takes away the burden as well of the HR representative. That's one way to look at it. But yes, to your answer question, Warren, Home Office has made that provision as a result, partly as a result of Brexit. Yes.
And I mean, look, we know it's such an outdated mentality, and I think it's such a lazy mentality for a lot of companies and HR departments by proxy. I mean, what would you say in terms of a statement to these organizations that are still stuck with this outdated mindset to enable them to change their onboarding processes with regards to the immigration process?
Yes. So I've got a few things I could say to that, which partly I mentioned earlier. Number one, organizations need to evolve their talent identification strategy. Yeah. If I'm going to the market, I'm talking to a recruiter, what are the specs I'm giving to my hiring or my recruitment partner? And how do I make sure that I'm not leaving any potential talent on the table with those specs, right? And then my hiring partner or my recruitment partner, how are they supporting me with that strategy in my strategy to make sure that I'm attracting the best talent for this role or for this opportunity within my organization? So it needs to evolve beyond the traditional or conventional way of recruiting, which is basically giving just a blank, there you go, this is who I need. And every other thing about how they come in or whatever, I don't care, you just deal with it. Because I think what most organizations are doing is basically using the blanket approach as the days of I-35 comes to mind.
Great comparison.
Companies don't want to just even think beyond just serving people. The other thing I will mention is the fact that I think as part of that, evolving your onboarding or talent identification process, I think there needs to be some cultural shifts in the way organizations actually treat their employees. So things like fostering diversity and inclusion in your organization is super important, because even if you bring the talent in, that is one part of the equation, isn't it? It's also making sure the talent stays with you. You want to look at your talent retention strategies. How inclusive are we as an organization? How diverse are we as an organization? How do we make sure that everybody in the organization has a voice? How do we look after our employees' well-being and mental health, for example? What strategies do we have in place in terms of being clear about our career strategy? Because yes, we can say that people need sponsorship. They also are seeking career progression. They are seeking career growth, and they want an organization that is forward-thinking and thinks about them. That's where they will go. That's where people will migrate to. So HR departments, people services, leaderships, CEOs, executives need to begin to embed and bake these strategies into their talent identification and retention strategies.
That was great.
We evolve, I think is the word. Evolution is key.
Evolution, that's it. Yeah.
And what other strategies would you perhaps recommend to organizations that are looking to nurture that talent effectively?
I think other strategies I can think about is things like flexible and hybrid working. That's another thing that is a big topic currently. What comes to mind, Amazon was a week ago there about to saying everybody needs to start coming to work 5 days a week. Now that is Amazon. But you don't look at Amazon and say, because Amazon has said that, then we're going to make sure everybody must work from the office 5 days a week. You need to think about what works for our people and for our organization. There needs to be an alignment between the organizational goals and also what will make people love working with us. Hybrid, I guess, is a very good middle ground, and I think it works really well. Even for some individuals, they prefer to go to the office. Some people prefer to work from home. How do we find the middle ground in terms of having a bespoke strategy for our own company? I think that's one big one that I can suggest also that leaders need to consider seriously.
Yeah. And we recently sort of reviewed a few studies, and we've actually got results of our own salary and market survey. And it actually highlighted a lot of individuals. I think it was over 60% of those that choose to stay within our business for perhaps more than 3 years. Is the fact that these organizations have invested in terms of their own professional and skills development. But with organizations offering sort of remote or even hybrid working, we've certainly seen some, not across the board, but in some cases, perhaps a dip in terms of the culture and the strength of the team. And that could perhaps be attributed to those individuals being away from each other and not being part of that sort of community base and not being in the office on site. So I'm just curious to gain your perspective in terms of how business can perhaps accelerate the development of employees to ensure that they're fostering innovation and driving growth continuously. In particular, those businesses that perhaps operate on a remote-based basis or a hybrid.
Yes. So I'll use my organization as an example, right? We are remote, 100%, right? Of course, now we are considering opportunities where people come together and work together from time to time occasionally. But I don't think remote working is going to go away in terms of how we work. And we're a small business, and I can totally relate to any organization that has those challenges. Now, the answer to your question, one of the things that I think has really worked well for us is community. Community is big. Giving your staff and your team a sense of belonging is super important. And you can foster that through collaboration in the communities, giving them opportunities to demonstrate their skills and capabilities. This means they will have to show up. It's not just about writing code or shipping code and designing features. No, let's get together and let's have some tea time online, right? Let's have events that, get us to know one another beyond just the walls of Jira and Trello and whatnot. Who am I working with as a developer? Who am I working with as a cybersecurity? Who is my SOC analyst? What interests you? All right? Those kind of conversations need to be happening within those communities. And then I think there are other strategies such as people engagement services that could help foster such collaboration as well. One of the things that we do in my organization is we have a pod that is called the Launch and Learn podcast. In fact, the season 4 starts here this week. And what that is we design this podcast for everybody in the organization to have an opportunity to have a voice, to have a platform, and to have a place where they can showcase their other interests and capabilities beyond even what their job role or what their job description says. You'll be so, I was stunned, honestly, that people are really talented. And when you just limit your conversations to what is on the job description, you actually don't know the person that is behind that job description. But when you open up opportunities for people to express themselves, such as the idea of a podcast, for example, it just opens you up. It's blown my mind, honestly, with the kind of things that people are able to express, the topics they can engage on, the things they can share, their experiences, their culture, or bring it, different things that make us thrive as human beings. So I think organizations need to begin to think about these strategies. How do we embed this in our way of working to make sure that people love what they do and love coming to work every day here, remotely or even physically? It wouldn't matter at that point. People just love it.
Most definitely. And from your perspective, what is in the market in terms of organizations successfully balancing both employee satisfaction with driving high performance?
I think in terms of driving high performance, one of the things I've seen in the market is that organizations are basically adopting blanket approaches or blanket rules without asking questions from their people. Let me put it this way. If you want to implement a strategy and you want this strategy to maybe engage your people and make them more productive, ask the people themselves. Ask them, what do you want? How would this work for you? You'll be surprised that in this time and age, especially now with the advent of social media, people are able to express themselves on the internet. There's a whole new level of confidence that an expectation that as human beings that all of us have, that we want to express, we want to share. So I think organizations are not thinking in terms of, when I said not thinking, not people-oriented. That's the word I'm looking for. Not people-oriented. You tend to miss out on these opportunities. And organizations that are thinking about people, are featuring their people, giving them the shout out, giving them the props, giving them the recognition, giving them the rewards, they tend to attract more of this talent because they're attractive, and people, organizations are not boring, and you just do the work. And it's not just the salary. Am I making sense? Is the productivity, is the recognition, is the representation, the voice that I have, that I'm proud to be associated with this brand. I think that's the thing that I'm saying, that organizations, especially startups, are beginning to embrace, and it's making a big difference in the marketplace.
Is that brand identity piece, I think, having a vested interest in the organization that you're representing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where I've seen success as organizations that invested a lot of money and research in aligning with special interest groups, for instance, and further developing their employee value proposition. And as a starting point for that, for any organizations that perhaps don't understand that, you really need to understand, first and foremost, yourself as an organization. So taking time with different departments, understanding where they see the value of the organization is and the benefits of joining, and then obviously realigning that with the market to ensure that the message aligns. So you're attracting the
100%.
I'll give you an example. Simple things about, if you're looking to engage with underrepresented groups, ensure that's reflected in the advertising that you've got, or some of the communities that you're association with, and some of the events that these organizations are perhaps promoting, for instance. They need to have a focus on things that matter. And I think productivity and obviously commercial benefits are going to come as a byproduct of that.
Exactly. I give an example. There is a huge surge, or the huge hype about personal branding, right? Everybody wants to have, or ideally, quote unquote, have a personal brand, because your personal brand goes a long way in terms of how you're perceived. Whether we like it or not is a thing, right? The social media platform has become, they've basically promoted that, and that's how the world runs, where we are now. Now, like as you rightly said, if I can see how my personal brand as a person is being enhanced by my organization or values of my organization that I can align with, that alignment brings a lot of value, not just for me as an employee, but even for my organization in terms of the business productivity and whatnot. So you're absolutely right. There's a huge synergy there if organizations can tap into it.
We know you touched on it earlier, and obviously it's something you mentioned that it's very important here, which is the importance of sort of practical work experience and
yes,
role training. I mean, obviously, why do you believe that the practical work experience is more valuable than formal certifications? We know that the markets are changing and people are certainly adjusting to this a bit more, but, and also would you be kind of to maybe provide some examples of how that hands-on training has positively impacted people in terms of maybe performance and growth within an organization?
I think the first answer is personal. So it's happened to me. If it's already very early days in my career, I'm not going to name names of organizations, but for example, I'll give just very simple example. I've been to an interview, and at the interview, I was given a practical assignment of 45 minutes and 30 minutes to complete. At that time, I had about 6 years or thereabouts work experience, was as a consultant and whatnot. And then when I was given the task, I sat down on the computer. It was an Excel analysis, data stuff. And I just looked at the spread like, oh, in my mind, without being read or anything, I was like, is a thing joke, right? Like, and then in 15 minutes, I was done. Right? I was going like, I do this all the time, done this like times that number. I could do this in my sleep. Now, why am I citing this example? It turns out, as soon as I came out of the room and I told the lady that I'm done, she said, oh, no, that maybe I didn't understand what was being asked. So she came back to the room and then looked at what was asked and what I had done. I didn't done, beyond what they asked us to do. I can't remember the assignment anymore. And then she said, you know what? Hold on, stay in this corner. And then she allowed every other person to do what they have to do and said, today you're not going. You need to speak with the HR manager straight away after this interview. Now, what that highlights for me it's not the fact that the other guys were not good or they were not competent or anything. I think for me, what I brought to the table at that point was the fact that I had done that before. I had done it many times over and over again. Even if anybody else that came for that interview that day had the PhDs or the degrees or whatever, they went, as long as they have not done it, they were no match for me. Does that make sense? Now, speed up into 5, 10, 6 years afterwards. In the UK, I've been doing a lot of work and mentoring. And when I talk to organizations or when I consult, the reason why a lot of people don't get a chance is because they don't have relevant work experience. And I thought to myself, okay, let me start helping people and coaching. Then I quickly realized that the coaching and the trainings and the certifications, even with all of that, as long as somebody has not done something before, you really can't prove it. All you have is head knowledge or theoretical knowledge, right? And I don't blame the employers. I'm totally on the side of the employers with this one because as an employer, there's so much value in having somebody with practical work experience come in to do my job for me. Nothing. I get immediate value. They're able to hit the ground running using HR terminology. Yeah, they're able to hit the ground running. And it's also good for the employee because they don't feel like their time is being wasted. They feel a sense of accomplishment, almost a sense of accomplishment and sense of commitment, almost immediately when they get on the job. So these are the things that actually drive me. And I see a lot of people I've coached many and hundreds and thousands of people with degrees and PhDs and all sorts of things. Once you are not able to do something, you can't flab your way. I mean, even if you blab your way through the interview or whatnot, right? It's just only a matter of time. It will be obvious that you don't know this stuff. You only have the head knowledge. So I'm very passionate about this because I have been there. It's happened to me many times with that number where every time I speak to an employer, I'm like, listen, for me to be here is because I've done it before and I will show you how I've done it before. And this is how I can demonstrate my value to this organization. In fact, the confidence that you have with experience is a game changer because when you're having the conversations, whether with the recruiter or the hiring manager, you are speaking their language confidently and you are able to understand what it is they're trying to do. Nobody wants to hire somebody to come and sit down and you spend another 3-4 months. Of course, there's onboarding, there's training, but you rather get somebody that can come in a couple of weeks, you're getting value from them. And that is what actually drives me.
Yeah, and I think having that muscle memory, especially when it comes to the mind, is very important. And we see individuals, we speak at a lot of universities across the UK, and we engage with a number of special interest groups. And one of the challenges a lot of them are facing of those that are perhaps breaking into the industry. They may even have 5 or 10 years worth of technology experience under their belt already, but they have no experience here in the UK. So a lot of employers are asking for that experience. And I think the best way for them to get that practical experience are the platforms such as SciSim, which we're going to discuss shortly. Also offering up their time to perhaps charities or even universities. There are things that individuals can look online, such as the Knowledge Transfer Partnership, where they highlight projects they've got funding and they need support from students and from people within academia, as well as those that have got certifications or experience. So my thought is that if individuals are a bit more proactive, there is resource out there for them to gain that practical experience and get them through the door.
Yeah, 100%.
And in terms of sort of bridging the gap between business objectives and technology, how would you approach the challenge of this in terms of aligning to the business objectives with consumer behavior and technology? And do you have maybe an example or a case study where your own intervention has led to maybe improvements in service delivery and outcomes in this space?
Yes, 100%. I think the analogy I like to use is the analogy of the blueprint and construction workers, right? So think about you're trying to construct a building. In order to have a building, you need to have a blueprint. Yeah, you need to have the design, the architecture, right? The guidelines, everything, the measurement and whatnot. That's the blueprint. Yeah. Now, the construction workers, your developer, your architect, your engineers, the people that actually follow that blueprint in order to be able to deliver your business outcomes, right? So I like using the analogy a lot, especially when it comes to trying to make organizations understand what is the connecting point between what they're trying to achieve as a business and also the people that are going to help them to achieve those objectives. Now, in my own experience, I think the big thing there is communication. Professional communication is a way to bridge that gap. I'll give you an example. It comes to one that comes to mind very easily. A public sector client in 2018. Yeah. After spending about 18 months, and they haven't really achieved much with their budget and their goals, I got a call and said, "Oh, could you come help us? And you have 1 month. We have 1 month to turn this around. After a month, we're done. We're not spending this money anymore. We're not doing this project anymore. We just have 1 month." And I came in, met with the team, and I said, "What have we been doing?" Now, apparently, what has been happening is they've been doing a lot of work, right? But the people who are making the decisions, who are spending the money, they don't know what's going on. They're not being communicated with. They are not being hurried along effectively, and they're not being enabled to make the decisions very quickly, right? And what I did was very simple. I just became a voice of the stakeholder and the voice of the team and brought the two together. Now, I say that in a very simplistic way, but it involved a lot of intervention in terms of stakeholder engagement, show and don't tells, getting your stakeholders involved in your agile delivery cycle and everything else. But the major thing that happened was that within a month, before the end of that month, the stakeholders came back and said to the consultancy that I was working with, "You have a year's budget. You have 12 months now. We give you money for 12 months to deliver this project." And the project was delivered in 10 months until today. It's still an exemplar, right? I said that it's not as if the people in the team were bad. No, they were great engineers, great cybersecurity people, great developers. The stakeholders didn't have any bad intentions. They just wanted to make sure that taxpayers' money is being spent in the right way, which is the right thing to do, right? So that bridging that gap required the ability to understand the perspective of the sponsor, of the stakeholders, and also understand the technology perspective and bringing those two things together in order to form an alliance and then progress forward. It was a major, I have to be honest with you, there was a time in that project that I remember when we were going live, myself and the team, we spent the night working to make sure that everything was perfect when we went live. Now, I say that to mean to show the level of commitment that every member of that team had, just because there was leadership and there was communication and there was alignment and they believed in the cause, the same team that was there. While I'm Atkinson. So that for me, that's a big thing. Until today, some of those guys are still friends. We see and this is quite interesting.
Amazing achievement.
That's brilliant. And moving on from that, we're just going to reel off a few quick fire questions. What bits of advice and guidance would you perhaps give those that are looking to enter the industry now versus those that are looking to develop their career further and move into perhaps leadership positions?
Yes. Two things. If you are trying to enter the industry in cybersecurity, even in tech in general, the first thing I would say is focus on your tech skills. Yeah. Get your tech skills in order. The second thing on top of that, and I will say this one with an underline, is improve your soft skills. Yeah. And when I say soft skills, I mean, I hope I'm not using complex vocabulary. I'm talking of your ability to communicate, articulate your thoughts very clearly, your ability to manage expectations very well, your ability to carry people along, your ability to break complex scenarios or situations or problems down into digestible and clear objectives and things that people can understand. So those are your soft skills, things that you can do. For example, there's a workshop we're hosting next week that talks about your ability to facilitate remote workshops, right? Many people don't even understand how powerful that is, where you have teams of consultants or team members spread all around the world, and you need them to contribute to your workshop, and you need to gather ideas and brainstorm together. It's an important skill. So I would say if you enjoy tech skills, then on top of that, major so much, especially with AI now, major so much on your soft skills. If you're moving up into C-suite and whatnot, I think your ability to communicate is super important with clarity, with confidence. Leaders need to be heard. Leaders need to serve. So your ability to communicate clearly, share opinions, with his right articles, write blogs, express your views, and of course, provide servant leadership. That is what takes you into the C-suite, in my opinion.
That's good. And certainly our focus for us as a community as well, with our cross-section mutual mentoring program, for instance, and our weekly online networking sessions. They're geared towards helping individuals and organizations develop so their softer skill set in a mutual sort of beneficial format.
Let's just sort of go into the back end of the episode now, Victor. Would you be kind enough to sort of tell us a bit more about Join Momentum's purpose and vision?
Oh yeah, thank you. So Join Momentum is, I would say, an impact organization. Of course, we are for profit, but we are in the early days of a journey. Our mission is to accelerate talents by providing things like practical work experience, confidence building, personal branding, and portfolio development. And these people actually work on real life solutions that are marketable solutions. So what we're doing with all of that effort is to create products that enhance business productivity, and deliver value for the individual, for the businesses, and of course for Join Momentum. That's our mission in a very simple way. However, with where we are right now, like I said, we are still very early days. So we have demonstrated our value. We can see that people that come to Join Momentum, they are testimonials of organization wanting to snap them up like that, because everything they're doing is exactly what they're going to be doing when they come into their organization. So our program is a 6 months work experience. We invest about £5,000 into each of these people, and we don't ask them for anything. They don't pay anything. They just have to apply and follow our recruitment procedure. Now, anyone that is not able to make it in terms of whether you apply, you don't pass the assessment or whatnot, we ask you to pay 30% of the program tuition to guarantee yourself a spot. And now that is what keeps us going at the moment. And I'm hoping that in the very near future, we are now able to bring solutions to the marketplace that we can then turn into revenue to continue to fund the way we invest in this talent and this people, because that's a big thing. I want to do it globally. We have people from all over the world working at Join Momentum and delivering value every day. It's quite interesting.
No, it's really exciting. And I know we've had a few discussions off camera, and I know we've working on a few sort of partnerships in the background with universities, for instance, and we're really excited about the solution you're bringing forward, Victor.
Yeah, thank you. I suppose finally, what does the future hold for you then? I guess personally, you'd be kind enough to talk us through the plans for the business. What about yourself?
For me, I think myself, I'm going to be, over the next few years, I see myself taking Join Momentum to a place of sustainability, taking Join Momentum to that place where it's self-sustaining, in terms of bringing products to the market, and those products become profitable and, of course, still uplifting talent who nobody would have given a shot otherwise. I think I'll still be doing that. And in the near future, I see myself talking to investors, partners, angels, people that can fund what we're trying to do as a way to scale and do it on a global scale. So we can even expand to other countries like United States, Africa, and so on and so forth. So I see myself doing more on a global scale in the tech space and talent accelerator space, including business solutions, of course.
So that's brilliant. Look, we hope that the ecosystem that we're developing with the Cyber Connect community can help enable that.
I really hope so. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for, look, all of our listeners who I'm sure many who want to stay connected beyond this podcast, where else can they reach you?
Yes, my website is the best place to reach me, www.victorsonde.com. I write on the other places, of course, social media. I write a lot on LinkedIn. That's where I express a lot of my solitude thoughts. I put them in my newsletter. So if you want to stay connected, subscribe to my newsletter. Very soon, I'm starting a podcast for my personal brand. My YouTube channel is up. There's no subscribers at the moment, but the plan is to launch a podcast called Grow with Victor Sonde. But my website is still the best place because everything is going to be housed on my website, victorsonde.com.
You're about to get your first subscriber.
Victor, thank you. It's been great, and it's been amazing listening to you talk about the topics with such passion. And for obviously our community, our listeners, I'm sure many of them will have found a lot of value in today's session. And if people wish to continue the discussion and for more sustained engagement, we invite you to join the Secure Cyber Connect community, where we're going to be offering a range of collaborative solutions to both technology and security professionals at no cost. These will include an expansive community access, cross-sectional mutual mentoring programs, weekly online networking sessions, and a range of exclusive interviews, panel discussions, and masterclasses. To learn more and gain access to the Secure Cyber Connect community and any of our initiatives, please visit secure-recruitment.com/cyber-connect/. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for having me, guys.